Okay, welcome back to Coding with Josh. You probably watched the last one, I'm assuming, and we went over variables and how to set them up. This time we're going to go over how to do arithmetic. So, how do we do operations, like mathematical operations? And it's pretty easy. So, if I say, let's set up a variable, we're going to use the same kind of idea as last time. So, number equals 1. Let's do another. We'll do number 2 equals uh, 2. Actually, let's do like 5. Okay, and then I can say const result equals 1 plus 5. And we'll close that statement off. And let's just use we're going to use our age variable here. There you go. So I'm calling out again. I'm calling out our age element. I'm giving it the text that we created. I can come in here and I can change things. I can say, never mind. I want this to be 2. Oh, I see why that didn't make any difference because we did that. We hard coded that. So I'm going to do this a little bit more dynamic. So now when I call out number plus number 2, there we go. 5 and 2 is 7. 5 and 3 is 8. So anytime I change this, I'm dynamically changing this. Now if I use my same logic as before, and what I had told you guys before about how we can use let and we can just update it through our document. Well, what if I want to say number actually equals 6? Notice how that updates after. So it runs this and it stores 4, and it runs this and it stores 5 and number 2, and then it updates our variable number to now have 6. I can update number 2 to be 6 as well, and then I have 12. So you kind of start to see how this works with math. So here's all of your signs. You can do times with the star. You can do divide with a slash. You can do, I think, like slash is supposed to be something. That might not be true. You can do percent is something called mod, where we take the modulus of something. And if you don't know what that is, don't even worry about it right now. When you get into something that needs it, you can research about that. But that's how you do it, is with a percent sign. I can do 2 times, and I think that should be squaring it for me. Yeah, it's basically saying 6 to the 6th power. So what about to the 2nd power? That's a little easier to know. So yeah, 6 times 6 is 36, or in other words, 6 to the 2nd power is 36. Those are all ways to do. We can even do minus. I almost forgot about that one. But yes, you can do all simple math and even extensive math in here, but you got to just know how to do it, right? And just like if you were to use a calculator, parentheses are huge. It still uses operation. It uses the order of operations, all that. But when we're going to get into loops, and maybe we ought to just do that right now. So again, we can use simple math, but when we're keeping count of stuff, that's a great time for us to use math. So if I'm going to do a loop, there is a loop called a for loop. So and here's how you set this up. So if I say for I equals 0, I less than 100, I plus plus. Okay, what does that mean, right? This is a very short way of writing, what could probably be a lot longer, but it's saying in the beginning, I is 0. And then, so notice these little, statement enders to end our statement. Then I increase as I is less than 100. So until we reach 99, I plus plus. I plus plus is the same thing as writing I add 1. So if we said equals I plus 1, that would be the same thing. So I is going to be 0, and then if we add 0 plus 1, the next time it's going to be 1, and then 1 plus 1 is 2, and then 2, and then 3, and so on. So we're just increasing it by 1, and the simple way to write that is I plus plus. That's all that means, is add 1 every single time. Okay, and I'm gonna prove that to you here in a second when we do this. So let's just call out document dot get element by ID age dot inner text equals I. Okay, see, we went to 99. Now I have it set for 100. How come we only went to 99? How many times is this loop actually running? Well, it's running 100 times because we started at 0. But it stops before 100 because it's the criteria is that it's less than 100. So if I put less than or equal to, then we hit 100. And how many times did that loop run? This is probably like a brain breaker for a lot of you guys starting out, if you are just starting out. But we ran this loop 101 times because we didn't stop before 100. We went to 100, but we started at 0. So now what if I said I equals 1? Now we ran 100 times, and you can see we stopped at 100. But for some weird reason, someone decided to start at 0. If you look at anyone else's code, with computers, we start at 0. So, and that way, you don't need to put less than or equals. This will run 100 times. So what does that mean? What if I do I plus I? Notice that it just increased I all the way up. We can do I times I. We can do I times 2, which was the same thing as I plus I. And do I plus 1. And then that gives us 99 plus 1. Anyways, so I can do that all the way up, and it's kind of fun to do. I'm going to change this back down to 5. And I'm going to prove to you that this is running in a loop because all you're seeing is one number at the end because it's running so fast. So let's do alert. I might have messed something up. Dang it. Okay, there we go. Alert I. Probably don't copy this part because this is where I'm going to run into some issues. Oh, why did it go in parentheses? There we go. Alert. I. Okay, there we go. So notice it's going 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it ends. And then again, let's count it. That way you can see. So if I do this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you did copy me and you ran into a problem where you can't get rid of your alert and you just keep hitting enter, just simply refresh your page. Control R or hit the refresh button and it's going to get rid of your code. But because I have this automatically running every time you change, you might run into a problem there. So, okay, hopefully you ended up back where I was. That's how we do, we can do mathematic operations, and we can do loops, right? That was a very, very brief overview of how to do loops. And I hope I can do another lesson that'll do it justice later because loops are probably one of the most, they're the most important thing because they take the redundancy out of coding. But so for our next and last one, we're going to go over if statements and functions. So there's part 2, and we're going to hop into part 3 where we go over if statements and functions. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.